Good afternoon, my peoples, and welcome back to the counterattack on this absolutely, well, it's quite gloomy this November. I hope you and yours are doing very, very well. Another day, another dollar, another international break in the books until I believe January. So we're going to go through some of the qualifying. It was all qualifying for the World Cup this time, no Nations League, not very many friendlies to speak about. So we're going to get into qualifying for North America, Concacaf, Asia, and of course, the bloodbath going on in African qualifying. So today we're going to start off with Concacaf. Concacaf qualifying and looking at the table right now. Ooh, look at that. Canada in first place with 16 points, trailing behind them the United States and Mexico rounding out the top three automatic qualification places. And I think we all just need to pause and give a standing ovation for Canadian soccer. What a time for Canadian soccer. You know, my people, there used to be a time when Canada only used to be known for hockey, the freezing cold weather, and Drake. I believe that was it. Now we are just in a completely different time. Canada has a proper team. A proper team. And 8 matches in, more than halfway through qualifying, they're in first place. They look great. They are in a great place to qualify. Hats off to the whole confederation, the players, that manager. I think he used to be the manager of the Canadian women's team who have their own legacy. So it's great to see him make that jump. Hopefully there can be more coaches and managers that make the jump from the women's game to the men's game and back and forth. It would be really good to see. But yeah, Canada undefeated. Undefeated. Just beaten Mexico in the freezing cold weather in Edmonton. I don't know if all of you saw that game, but I find it will never not be funny. The Canadian Federation dragging some of these teams that aren't used to that cold weather up to as far north as they can to sort of gain an advantage. So that's great for them. I'm really pleased for Canada. I truly hope they qualify, and they look well placed to do so. Looking at the rest of the table, honestly, it's pretty much as expected. As we've gotten deeper and deeper into qualifying, the cream has risen to the top. And USA, they look great to qualify. They started out with a loss and a couple of draws, and it wasn't looking good. But right now, barring a disaster, I think they're going to qualify. Mexico, Tata Martino is getting absolutely destroyed in the Mexican press right now. And I don't know if that's all warranted. I mean, they're only 2 points off the top. They're still in the automatic qualification places. Losing to the United States and then going to Canada and getting pretty much dominated, I get it. People aren't going to be happy. Mexico are meant to be the pace setters in CONCACAF, and right now they are disappointing. Very disappointing. Tied for third with Panama. Ugh. Might get tricky. Remember, while there's a big gulf in sort of player quality in CONCACAF, no one is guaranteed. The United States didn't go to the 2018 World Cup. So the Mexican team, they got to get it together, and they have to get it together very, very quickly. Something I've been paying more and more attention to is Asian qualifying. That's largely a function of I can watch it on Paramount Plus now, as opposed to finding a pirated stream, broadcasting from the UAE or something like that. Those days are over, so let's get into Asian qualifying. And right now, in Group A, Saudi Arabia and South Korea, they look well placed to qualify. I mean, there is a pretty big gap between second and third. And honestly, if they keep on winning their home games and not dropping too many points when they go away, Group A looks pretty much a foregone conclusion. Iran and South Korea, they're going to go through from there. The interesting thing about Group A is that it's going to be a bit of a bloody fight for that third place spot. UAE, Lebanon, Iraq, and even Syria, they're all within striking distance, and really it's going to come down to which of these 4 teams can pick up the most points against each other and against the top teams, which they're probably going to lose to. But we'll see. I mean, UAE is probably historically the strongest of the sides, so I expect them to beat out Lebanon, Iraq, and Syria for that third spot that goes into the playoffs. Probably the most interesting thing about Asian qualifying so far is Group B. Saudi Arabia, as I said, they look pretty good to qualify. 5 wins out of 6. They've only dropped points in one of the draws, and they look good. Top of the group. What is going to be interesting in Group B is who gets that second automatic qualifying spot straight to the World Cup and who goes into the playoff. And right now, it's looking like a bit of a fight between Australia and Japan. And when Australia was moved from Oceania into Asian qualifying, I thought it was a great idea. Now, there is another team that's relatively strong and that can make some moves in Asia. So it won't be, a foregone conclusion that, some of the bigger countries in Asia are going to automatically sort of finish in those top 2 spots. Adding Australia to the mix really, really makes things interesting. And Japan is 1 point ahead of them. It's going to be a fight to the end here. And I am looking forward to it. Oman, probably too much for them. And China. China are sitting in 5th out of 6 places in Group B. And their plan, the Chinese FA, their plan to sort of pause the domestic season and hold all of their home games in the Middle East is really backfiring. It has not gone well. 1 win out of 6. They've lost 3 games. They're 6 points behind that third playoff spot. I really don't see the Chinese, doing much of anything in this qualifying. I was hoping that they would make things interesting in Group B, and honestly, it just doesn't look like it. They look sunk. Lastly, but definitely not least, we go into African qualifying for this World Cup. And, if you pay attention to World Cup qualifying, international football, you can see some of the disparities and almost all of the differences in how each confederation sends teams to the World Cup. I believe that Africa does it the right way. A lot of times you can sort of tell a lot of these confederations, especially in Europe, UEFA, they are the biggest culprits when it comes to this. Obviously, they're thinking about the money. Qualification process, it favors bigger teams. It just does. Here in Africa, once they reach the third round, it's the group winners. 10 group winners from the second round go into the third round. And then I don't believe there's any seeding, but they're drawn into 5 home and away fixtures. And the winner of each fixture, they go to the World Cup. So Africa sends 5 members to the World Cup. And this is how it should be done. Because I am looking at the group winners from the second round, and there are some huge African footballing nations that might get drawn against each other, and then one of them will not go into the World Cup. I mean, imagine if Senegal and Nigeria, or Nigeria and Egypt, or, Ghana and Algeria get drawn together. One of those teams is not going to the World Cup. So we are going to see definitely a big African nation getting sent home. And really and I believe it's the playoffs for UEFA World Cup qualifying. This is when it gets interesting. This is when it gets fun. It's going to be a proper bloody battle to see who Africa sends to the World Cup, and I am very much looking forward to it. If I had to wager a guess without seeing any of the ties before any of that's done, if I had to pick gun to my head, I'm going to say Nigeria, Cameroon, Mali, Egypt, and Senegal are gonna head to the World Cup from Africa. I am looking forward to this very, very much. Thank you for sticking with me, my peoples. Please slap that like button and subscribe. And please, all of you, stay safe and have a great day.